Hello and welcome to our brand new show, Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison Lagrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. Talks on the second phase of the Israel-Hamas ceasefire resume in Cairo. Egypt says Israeli, Qatari and US delegations are holding intensive discussions. The first phase of ceasefire ends tomorrow. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says India is set to finalize a free trade deal with the European Union by the end of this year. The remarks follow his meeting with the bloc's chief, Ursula von der Leyen. A suicide bomb attack at a religious school in the northwestern district of Nowshera in Pakistan kills at least 6 and injures several others. A federal judge reverses mass firing ordered by the Trump administration. The layoffs were a part of Donald Trump and Elon Musk's plans to slash the government workforce. And the Canadian privacy watchdog opens a probe against Elon Musk's social media platform X over a possible privacy breach. This comes amid growing tensions between the US and Canada. Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest from the Indo-Pacific region, where China's maritime aggression posed Canberra's worst security challenge in decades. In the latest, Beijing defended its high-intensity military drills near Australia. In an interview, Beijing's ambassador to Canberra said that China does not feel sorry for its recent aggressive posturing against Australia. The Chinese clarification comes after its warships conducted live firing just 300 nautical miles off Australia's Eden coast last week. Apart from Australia, the drills also alarmed authorities in New Zealand. Of the 3 warships China used in these drills, one Renhai-class cruiser is capable of being equipped with nuclear-capable cruise missiles. Their firing range could potentially target Australian capital Canberra and the country's most populous city, Sydney. Now, despite using a nuclear-capable warship in these drills, Beijing claimed that its war games were in compliance with international norms and that Beijing notified Canberra about its military drills in the region in advance. But did China really do so? Reports say that live drills by the Chinese warships were first detected by a commercial plane pilot, who then notified the Australian military about Beijing's aggression. Australian authorities later suggested that Beijing's Navy transmitted the information about its war games on a radio frequency that is not conventionally used for communicating between international militaries. Now, according to an official account, the Australians could know of Chinese war games in their backyard after 40 minutes since they had begun last Friday. Now, this critical lag in Australian response to Chinese aggression has rung alarm bells in and beyond the country's corridors of power. Australian military experts have described this as an embarrassing exposure of the country's naked defences for what is being described as Australia's weak-kneed and slow response to Chinese aggression. Experts also blame the country's reliance on New Zealand for the defence of their maritime interests. Now, what exacerbated the Australian worries is the fact that a US Coast Guard ship crossing the region knew of Chinese presence in the area, but had no deterring interaction with them. Australia's own delay in responding to Chinese war games, coupled with an ally's purported disinterest to counter a common foe like China, has heightened concerns about the country's maritime defences.
Yes, we were aware of their presence. That did not affect our operations. No, we follow international norms, regulations for preventing collisions at sea, and we had no encounters, but we would expect the Chinese Navy to do the same.
As of now, the Chinese naval ships are now returning off the Australian shores, but this unprecedented naval expansion near Australia marks a fresh chapter in the Indo-Pacific's evolving security landscape. As the region simmers under the heat of internationally denounced Chinese expansionism, how will Australia and its allies respond? Our next story is about Uighurs, an ethnic Muslim group primarily living in China's northwestern province of Xinjiang. Thailand has deported dozens of them to China, ignoring warnings from the human rights groups who say that they will be persecuted. Before dawn on Thursday, a convoy of trucks with closed windows covered in black tape was seen departing the Bangkok Immigration Centre. For more than a decade, these Uighurs were reportedly held in that facility before being forcibly sent back. They were escorted in handcuffs to a South China Airlines flight. It headed straight for Kashgar, which is in China's Xinjiang region, the very same place they feared going back to. Now, reports say that the deportation flight has 40 Uyghur men aboard. Thailand's Deputy Prime Minister said that the deportation process was completed while maintaining Thai laws and regulations. China had also supposedly told Thailand that these individuals would be looked after.
China submitted an official diplomatic request. The Chinese government insisted to us that they wanted them back and that these people did not commit any serious offenses and they would be well taken care of.
What happened when they landed is something we do not know. There's a couple of questions that we need to ask here. If Thailand was following the legal procedures, why was the deportation carried out in secrecy? Why was it done in the dead of night with trucks covered in black tape? And to add to that, an unscheduled flight that flew them out. For anyone who has followed China's treatment of Uyghurs, they know the possibilities are terrifying. China has for years been involved in systematic persecution of the Uyghur Muslims, mass deportations, forced labor, torture, and even mysterious disappearances. Beijing has been accused of it all. Thailand's move has drawn condemnation from international players. The US Secretary of State Marco Rubio opposed it in the strongest possible terms. The United Nations called it a clear violation of human rights.
The UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk says the deportation of 40 ethnic Uyghurs to China is a clear violation of international human rights laws and standards. The men, who were part of a larger group, have been held in poor conditions at a number of immigration detention facilities in Thailand since March 2014. 5 have died in custody, 8 are believed to remain in detention. Our office has repeatedly urged the Thai authorities to respect their obligations under international law in relation to these individuals in need of international protection. It's deeply regrettable that they have been forcibly deported.
Australia too criticised the Thai government and opposed its decision. This isn't the first time Thailand has bowed down to Chinese pressure. In 2015, it deported over 100 Uyghurs to China. Later, many of them disappeared into vast detention centres in Beijing. All of these Uyghurs are a part of a group of 300 people who fled China in 2014 to seek refuge in Southeast Asia. They escaped the brutal repression in Xinjiang. Many of them were arrested by Thailand and were languishing in Thai detention centres and died in prison. The fate of the 40 Uyghurs who are now in China is likely sealed. They are not just deportees, they are victims of a global system that prioritizes diplomatic ties over human lives. And shifting focus to Washington, D.C., where the visiting UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer faced President Donald Trump's mercurial diplomacy. Now, the British Prime Minister left the US capital with a mixed bag of geo-economic and geopolitical takeaways. Trump handed Starmer a potential win on a possible trade deal. On the other side of the table, the British Prime Minister appealed to Trump's love of the British royal family and handed the US president an invitation for a state visit from King Charles III.
Will once again demonstrate the power of our country's unique friendship. This is indeed a unique friendship. It's been many years, and I think it's only gotten stronger, and we will make sure that it stays that way. We're going to have a great trade agreement. One way or the other, we're going to end up with a very good trade agreement for both countries, and we're working on that as we speak.
This is a letter from His Majesty the King. It's an invitation for a second state visit. This is really special. This has never happened before. This is unprecedented. And I think that just symbolises the strength of the relationship between us. So this is a very special letter. I think the last state visit was a tremendous success.
From the White House, while the British Prime Minister was able to claim a symbolic geo-economic win for London, he struggled to win over Trump for Europe's security framework against a potential Russian aggression. In one key moment of their bilateral interaction, as the British Prime Minister peppered praises on the Trump-led America, Trump asked Starmer if the UK could take on Russia without America's help. The British Prime Minister chose to laugh off Trump's sharp quip. The message from the US President was clear. British, and by extension the European security in the face of a potential Russian aggression, is still dependent on the United States.
But we've also always been there backing each other up between our two countries. That is why this is the greatest alliance for prosperity and security I think the world has ever seen. Whenever necessary, we've absolutely backed each other up, and that's at the core.
Could you take on Russia by yourselves?
Meanwhile, Europe's concerns that Trump-led America will reward Russia in case of a potential peace deal to end the Ukraine war remained unresolved. Sitting beside the UK Prime Minister Starmer, Trump defended Russian President Vladimir Putin and said that he would keep his word to end the war in Ukraine.
I don't believe he's going to violate his word. I don't think he'll be back. When we make a deal, I think the deal's going to hold. Now, they're going to have security. You're going to have security. Yep. You're going to have soldiers. I know France wants to be there.
European nations, led by France and even the post-Brexit Britain, want a US security backstop in exchange for deploying peacekeepers in Ukraine once a peace deal is reached. British officials had earlier called for US support, including aerial and satellite intelligence and air power if necessary to deter Russian aggression. Starmer left empty-handed from the US on these key European concerns. Instead, the British Premier tried to show that he was willing to step up in Ukraine with post-war troop deployment. This as Trump repeatedly urges European nations to contribute more to their continent's defense. For decades since the end of the Second World War, Europe felt secure under the umbrella of the US-led security alliance NATO. To pursue peace talks with Russia, Trump has not only declined to extend this umbrella to Ukraine, but has firmly asked Europe to pay for its own security. As Starmer leaves Washington without American emphasis on European security, Trump's question to Starmer holds key significance. Can Europe defend itself from Russia without the US support? Our final story takes us to the hermit nation, North Korea, where leader Kim Jong-un has once again flexed his country's military capabilities. In a move of defiance against international pressure, Pyongyang carried out another missile test under his direct supervision. Kim Jong-un oversaw the launch of strategic cruise missiles off the North Korea's west coast. The missiles flew for 130 minutes and traveled about 1,600 kilometers, and they precisely hit their allotted targets. According to state media, Kim ordered full readiness to use the country's nuclear attack capabilities. He said it was the most effective defense strategy. The missile launch carried out was framed as both a warning for adversaries in a demonstration of strength. During the test, Kim Jong-un said that North Korea's nuclear forces must protect the country's security. He added that a powerful striking ability is the perfect way to showcase deterrence and defense. The exact location of where the test took place wasn't confirmed, but experts believe it was near the city of Nampo. It's a place about 130 kilometers from South Korea's border. Seoul's military confirmed the test, saying it is keeping a close watch. North Korea's missile test and its latest provocation comes just ahead of the Freedom Shield military exercise. The drills are jointly conducted by the US and South Korea. They focus on defense against North Korean threats and include simulated wartime scenarios and field training.
Learned a lot from each other and been able to demonstrate our ability to work together as one team. We look forward to continuing to train together and building the relationship between the US and the Korean forces.
These war games often prompt strong reactions from North Korea. Kim Jong-un views these as preparation of invasion. North Korea's last missile test was in January. It launched a sea-to-surface guided cruise missile back then. Tensions between the two Koreas are at an all-time high. Amid all of these developments, Kim Jong-un is pushing its military harder. This week, he visited a major military academy. There, he urged his troops to absorb real-time battlefield experience. Some analysts believe that North Korea is conducting frequent missile tests to draw the attention of US President Donald Trump. One analyst said that Kim Jong-un might even be interested in a summit this year. If that's the case, then Pyongyang's latest show of force could be less about immediate war and more about playing the long game. And that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again at the same time on Monday. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to First Post.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and